One thing on most people's mind is, how long is it going to take to get from 70 to 80? And the reason it's on people's minds is because not everyone is a loser like me. Well, not really loser, but don't go out and do a real man's job anymore. And you probably need to book some time off work. And you want to make sure you book enough time off work to get to level 80, but not only that, get your reputations done, get pre-raid bis, and probably before you go back to work, you're going to want to get at least one raid done, surely. So I have been digging around and my trusty source Engadget has come through again, but that's not all we're going to look at. Before we start looking at this data from back in the day, it is worth bearing in mind that yes, we are probably better and faster at leveling now than ever. They wouldn't have had things like Rested XP, which just walks you through every single quest, which, by the way, the pre-orders for Wrath are starting soon, if they ain't started already. Link in the description. But not just that, the sheer amount of time people have spent on private servers or even their own Wrath servers just getting ready, stacking up quests ready for 71, which, by the way, isn't a new thing, and I will be doing a video on that as well, but that's for something else. But stacking up quests, I even done that back in original TBC ready for Wrath. But there still was people that done it very fast back then, and this is going to be looking at just your average player, I would say. We can start, if you want, with the interview from Nim on MMO Champion from back in the day, which was actually the world first level 80, who achieved it in 27 hours. So that's less than 3 hours per level, which really is going some. But for a brief idea on how he actually achieved world first level 80, MMO Champion asked him, you reached the max level 27 hours after the European servers went online. That's pretty fast even if you spend all your time leveling. Could you tell us how you achieved it? Nim said, the idea first came up when I saw this post from Jinx. The idea looked nice and I decided to run a few tests on the beta servers. It took around 3 hours to level from 78 to 79, and considering that it is one of the longest levels, it seemed good enough to use this strategy to power level at release. The biggest problem was to find a spot with enough monsters to grind without too much downtime. I spent some time on the beta servers and eventually found the crypt in Drackejaye ruins in Grizzly Hills. I think that's the one and only place in Wrath of the Lich King where monsters repop in about 30 seconds. Mobs here are also neutral and it makes grinding a little safer. I also had to optimize my downtime and decided to level with a healer outside of the party. Pavalon was nice enough to spend the last 27 hours healing me without taking any XP, and he obviously played a huge role in the process. It then went on to talk about Athene, who was going to be the world first level 80, but even after questioning GMs to make sure what they was about to do was okay, they still got banned at level 79. And what they were basically doing was mob tagging in instances, which that's a popular way on private servers to level because it's still in the game. You can't even do it in Classic now. So for those of you that have not played on any private servers because they're naughty, what you actually do is you'll have somebody run through, like a Paladin, for example, run through with no reflection, damage reflection or anything like that on, pull all of the mobs, take them all back to the beginning, leave the group, the Mage or whatever you're boosting will do 1 AoE on everything and get the tag on all the mobs, and then the Paladin will kill all the mobs. So the person outside of the party who tagged them all gets full XP. And you can do that from like level 10, 15, whatever, because you can use dynamite as well. That works. So, but obviously, yeah, you're not going to be able to do that in Wrath. I just want to put a bit of context behind how Athene was going to be the world first level 80 within about 13 hours. That's quick. But I would say for the average person either doing dungeon farming or doing questing, you're looking at 4 hours a level minimum, quite honestly. And I'm talking not speed leveling, just running around, enjoying yourself, doing your quests at a decent pace, maybe having a bit of competition. 4 hours is going to be very fast a level. So that's 40 hours to get from 70 to 80. It isn't quick. Most people, it's probably going to take 60 or 70 hours. Those that are questing and mixing in some pug runs in dungeons, maybe doing a bit of professions. As I say, just enjoy it. Don't rush. The absolute quickest way, and I would argue with anybody, is actually what the Warlock Nymph done. Because I've been doing lots and lots of testing, deciding on exactly how I'm going to get to 80. And out in the world, grinding if you can find good enough zones, which I do know some, and I'm going to share them with members only, but that's it. So if you're not a member, join as a member. Actually, 76 to 80, I've already got on there. If you play on Mirage Raceway, though, which is where I am, do not join as a member. But I am going to give some insight to members only on exactly what my route's going to be. But it's not something I'm going to publish publicly because, well, I'm not an idiot, contrary to popular belief. Now, I put a video out about mage boosting in Utgard Keep, which you can go and check that video out. I'll put a link in the description below. I'd well recommend anyone watching it, even if you're not planning on playing a mage, because I'll show you in that video that I can solo Utgard Keep as a level 70 mage in full BT/Sunwell gear. In fact, I don't think I had any Sunwell gear. It was just BT and Mount Hyjal, and it was comfortable. I was averaging getting about a quest's worth of XP every 2 to 2.5 minutes. The only thing that will limit you as a mage soloing Utgard Keep at level 70 or even 68 maybe is the lockouts, because there's not that many mobs. And that's the thing, when it comes to AoE grinding in dungeons now, there isn't the mob density that there is in Classic or in TBC. They're so much smaller, they're so much more compact, so many mixtures of mobs, being casters, being melee, being ranged, having pets, being immune to stuns. There's lots of varied mob types that I do think solo in dungeons as a mage, the options are fairly limited, but absolutely possible and very lucrative XP wise. In terms of farming as a group, I actually did watch an amazing video by Stay Safe, and I'll put a link to his video in the description as well, talking about the amount of XP that you'll get doing dungeons versus the amount that you'll get doing quests. And he's absolutely right. On even a medium populated realm where there is going to be a lot of mob competition, because you've got to remember, those first two zones, Howling Ford and Borean Tundra, they are not that big. And we're going to be squeezing an entire server into those two zones. Across all servers, there is going to be competition for quests. But even saying that, the amount of quest XP you'll get and from the mob kills theirself, if you've got free reign to actually go out and quest, you will level faster from questing than in dungeons. And trust me, this is tried and tested. This is not me guessing values or anything like that. I've literally done 70 to 72 in a full 5-man dungeon group, and I've done 70 to 72 questing. But there weren't that much competition in terms of questing. Few people running around, but nothing like what we're going to see on Classic. So I do take that into consideration with what I'm saying. And taking all of that on board, I would say the quickest way to level is obviously getting some preparation in now and having a full quest log and items that start quests and stuff like that to get either to 71 or as close to 71 as possible. But having an area where you're going to go and grind, because like I say, mob grinding, number 1, it's the fastest. Number 2, quests, uncontested. Number 3, dungeon farming. Number 4, quests with contest, basically. And that's in the order you want to do those things. So what I would do personally is either know somewhere where to go and grind as soon as you get to Northrend where no one else is going to go, which would mean going straight into Dragonblight, straight into Grizzly Hills, going to a specific area that you've pre-planned in advance. You head straight there and you mob grind for 1 to 2 levels. Then go back and do Howling Ford and Borean Tundra once most people have moved on. Because you've got to remember, depending on launch time, wherever you are, if you give it 8 to 10 hours, those first zones are going to start to quiet down. They're not going to be dead. They're not going to be dead for weeks, but they will quieten down. So you can go backwards to get behind the curve rather than ahead of the curve. That's an option. Or follow like Stay Safe's video, where you do get a dungeon group together, you go and smash loads of dungeons, and then you get behind the curve again. So once you get to a point where you're like, oh, I've got 2 or 3 levels from dungeons, I'm bored now. Because you will get bored. If you've done it in TBC, running that same dungeon over and over and over and over again, it's very, very boring. So there might get to a point where you're like, well, I'll do 3 or 4 levels in dungeons with the boys, then I'll back out and go and quest, and maybe go back to the first zones now they're quietening down, and then catch up. That would be my recommendation. As I say, my full plan is going to be on YouTube members anyway. But let's have a look at the data. So this is probably what you're here for. Well, actually, it's not. Hopefully you're here for me. So to fit the nature of the study, the sample of 3,000 users was limited to people who had a level 70 character at the expansion's launch, had picked up the expansion within 10 days of launch, and did not take on the new Death Knight class as their main. The picture above shows one of the resulting pie charts from Gamer DNA's study. From the sample, the biggest group, 44%, took between 16 and 30 days to reach level 80. That's real days. That's not /played, so they might only be playing for like 4 hours a day or something. But quite a large percentage, 18%, managed to finish up their leveling in just 5 to 15 days. Only a very small group sample, 2%, took longer than 60 days. Interestingly, further pie charts show that there wasn't one particular class that was favoured in the race to 80. In fact, in the quickest group, where you'd expect the class to matter more, the class makeup was probably at its most even across the board. So you can say most people are going to sit between that 5 and 15 day. It's going to be somewhere around there. And as I say, you've got to realistically expect to be sort of leveling pretty hard for 40 to 48 hours, realistically, for most people. So I'm hoping to have it done in 3 days. That's what my plan is. I want to have it done in 3 days, but that is without, I'm not doing 24-hour streams or anything like that. I'll probably play like 16 hours a day, maybe 18, and I'd like to do it in 2 to 3 days. I say 3, but I really am aiming for 2, but at least if I say 3, you just can't all go, you failed if I don't do it in 2, which I really want to do it in. I want to basically only sleep once before getting to level 80. And I really think I will. I'm pretty sure I'll manage it. In the tests that I've done where it's not on live servers, I can do 70 to 80 in about 29 hours. That's not as good as the world first. The world first, done it in 27, but he did have a healer behind him. I've done it without a healer, but this time on Classic, I am going to have my level 70 Paladin following me, blessing me, healing me, being ready to lay on hands me, whatever, get in a group quick. I'll be setting all macros up and everything so it all works perfectly. No, I'm not going to be multi-boxing. I'm not going to be using software, but it will be set up perfectly to make it really easy for me to be able to quickly heal, which I'll probably use the Stream Deck like I done in the video. I'm going to just fill up the description with videos because that's a really good video. If you want to multi-box legally, like that's how I'm going to be doing it with 2 PCs and a Stream Deck to control the Paladin. But anyway, that's something else. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's a bit rambly, a lot of information to take in, a lot of speculation. I've got no real numbers for you. All I can do is tell you what I've been testing, which I have. So like, subscribe. What do I normally say next? Roll the outro. There's lots of ways you can support the channel to keep me here putting out World of Warcraft content and covering all future MMOs. Consider joining the channel as a member. You get access to emotes. Everyone will know you're a member when you comment on future videos because you get a nice icon next to your name. And you get access to members-only videos, which I'll be putting a lot of on the channel throughout the year. Additionally, there's a Patreon link in the description as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.